Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today I have a special guest for us. He's representing the King of Oregon. He is a living legend. He is literally a king of kings. Before you start this episode, I want you to go do one thing for me. I want you to go to Google or type in a voice command. I want you to go to realtrends.com. Look at the mega teams. Look at the #1 mega team, and you will see that we have a living legend named Jayson Mitchell with us today, blessing us with this time. And here we go with his description. Jayson is your guide into Oregon's luxury real estate and commercial market. Proudly part of Keller Williams, the Mitchell Group, he is dedicated to connecting your property aspirations with the unrivaled blend of luxury and nature that Oregon offers. Specializing and assisting executives during corporate relocations, he understands the unique challenges these transitions entail. Jayson and his team handle every detail for a smooth, stress-free move, ensuring an exciting new beginning. They take pride in offering professional, discreet services tailored to individual needs. For professionals who seek a trusted partner to refer clients to, you'll find Jayson's commitment to attentive care and satisfaction unmatchable. His background in commercial construction and real estate development and the resilience honed from his bodybuilding days equip him to turn property dreams into reality effectively. Jayson builds relationships based on trust and understanding, ensuring each journey towards a luxury residence or inclusive property is enjoyable and fulfilling. With Jayson, you're not just finding a property, but a tailored lifestyle that matches each client's unique desires. Because a home isn't just an asset, it's where cherished memories are made. If you're ready to explore Oregon's luxury real estate market, or if you're a professional looking for a reliable, experienced broker to refer your clients to, let's connect with Jayson and turn your dreams into reality. Jayson's mobile number is 971-727-9853, and his email is jason.mitchell@unitedhomegroups.com. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Jayson. Jayson, how are you feeling today?
I'm awesome, man. That was the longest and best description of my business I've ever heard. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you, Jayson. Thank you. It's true honor and pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, for you guys who don't know, Jayson does almost 1,000 transactions a year. He is literally a living legend. Jayson, what made you want to serve people in the real estate industry what called your attention to serve people in the real estate industry, if you don't mind sharing that?
What made me want to serve people in the real estate industry, mainly for me, was just the service part. I feel like a lot of service industry members these days aren't giving 100%. I'm giving 110% into everything I do my entire life. As a kid into young adult, I've been in situations where, I haven't always been the top guy on the totem pole. So I know I had to work my way up. But in that process, I've done a lot of things. I've worked a lot of, odd jobs and to get where I am. So learning the service industry, what customers, consumers want to hear, want to see, all of that has cultivated throughout the years. And I think that there needs to be someone in the biggest transaction of your life that you're ever going to make. There needs to be the top tier service. So
what year did you get into real estate, Jayson?
I got in back in 2017.
Okay, how did you expand so fast to being the #1 out of everybody in the state?
I would say, I think that the best thing I've done for myself was taking, like I just said, the service industry jobs that I had before prior to. I've been a fine dining server. I'm a hairstylist. I've been a hairstylist for 20 years. You're actually sitting in my salon right now. And I took these different aspects. I was in construction in my 20s, and I took these different aspects of my knowledge and I applied them to real estate. I used to sell cars in California. When I was selling cars, a funny story, I actually lied to get the job in California at a Toyota dealership. I showed up. I had an interview from a guy. He wasn't there. The manager wasn't there. So this guy comes and sits down with me, and he's like, "Hey, do you have an interview?" And I was like, "I do." And so he sits down with me and he starts interviewing me, and I'm like, "Okay." But I answered all the questions. I kind of lied on some of them. I knew the car industry. I knew cars like the back of my hand. So, all these questions he was asking me, I'd never sold cars before. but I really wanted the job. And he could probably tell that I was making stuff up, and he finally stood up and he's like, I like this guy, give him a job. And I was like, okay. And then he walks off into the general manager's office. So the general manager of the entire store interviewed me. I was totally bullshitting him the entire time, and he hired me on the spot. So what I took from that, though, is I ran for every single customer that came on the lot, because there was 46 salesmen in Southern California. If you took a client, that was your client. If you messed it up, you had to wait till everybody went back around to get another client. So I was like running to get the keys, you know, to grab a Toyota, you know, Tacoma or Scion had just come out. And so I would run to get the keys and I'd come back, and I'm from Oregon, but I was in California, you know, with my grandparents on my dad's side. Long story there, but I would run back with the keys and I'd be like, here you go, let's test drive it. And they'd be like, you're not from here, are you? And I'd be like, no, I'm from Oregon. Why? And they're like, we can tell because nobody runs and as nice as you are. So like, it's all about service. Really, it is.
Yes, you give like, I'm sure you give like, I'm sure you cater to your case by case scenarios and give your 5-star customers satisfaction. But Jayson, you doing all this volume, like what legacy do you really want to leave behind from what you're doing in real estate?
Well, the legacy, I mean, I want to leave behind a memory for my clients mainly. I mean, it's just like you said, case by case basis. It's not this huge thing. Obviously, I want to be successful and accomplish all of my goals. But my goal is to just work for the people. You know, there's not a lot of people out there that are for the people still and not for themselves. That's how you get to the top, is you stay in the service mindset.
Nah, thank you for sharing that. Besides the people, is there anything else that inspires or influences you the most in your work, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, my daughters, I married into 2 more daughters. So, you know, just raising my kids. I have a son that's older. Raising my kids to be like myself, just, you know, service industry mindset, not service industry people, because the service industry in my mind is a great industry to be in, but you want to move past that. You want to take those skills and apply them to your own business someday. So I want to raise them up to be, you know, business owners and successful women themselves, and just strong-minded characters.
No, that's great, Jayson. That's great. And I'm sure you can see too that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
Can you share with us, like, what's the most memorable, what's the story behind your most memorable success and failure, please?
So let's see. Most memorable success is I was working for actually a real estate agent herself. She couldn't sell her own house, and she was the listing agent. And I was at a luxury brokerage at the time. I knew we could sell it, so I brought in the top agent of the brokerage. We listed it, and it was a $3 million property here in Beaverton. And we were actually working with some of the trailblazers. It was during the pandemic when they couldn't go to their facilities as a group. They had to train one-on-one. Well, this had a full indoor court basketball hoop that they could come to. So I worked with some of the top trailblazers of our actually basketball players in the NBA of our time, like Carmelo Anthony, Wenyen Gabriel, and Nasir Little. Like, all of those guys were coming to train at my listing. I would clean the backboards, clean up before the next one got there. So it's just fun. I mean, I see it as a success because I met some really cool people. I actually sold the house for the agent that couldn't sell her house, got her the money she wanted. And so it was just fun. You know, made some cool videos out of it. I'd say my least, how did you word that? Least successful, or
what was it? Your most memorable failure, the one that sticks with you that you think maybe changed your whole trajectory, might have like resonated with you in a way where you're like, you know what, this like I'm gonna get better from this, you know?
Yeah. Well, actually, I could say in that same situation, I had a situation where I was letting people into that same gym, and I was sort of renting it out, and I didn't see a problem with doing so. I had actually, I got some basically communication from other people that wanted to use the gym during the pandemic, and I did not like tell the sellers that I was renting out their gym, and so the failure for me was not disclosing that, and so I ended up paying them for the rent that I got, but they gave me full access to their house. I was like basically managing it for the Blazers. So I'm like, hey, if some, other people want to come in, like, why not? And so I didn't see an issue with it at the time, but like full disclosure, is very important. And I learned from that. And, that's how we get through life. We just learn from our hard knocks.
No, 1000%. We learn through our trial and errors, or we learn through someone else's trial and errors. And I'm sure, yeah, that what you just mentioned, yeah, full transparency matters most. And we'll get into a little bit why transparency is going to matter. And now that we got past August 17th, but switching gears a little bit, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Any historical figure? Wow, that's a great question. I would probably say, probably like Martin Luther King, or one of the again, the forefront of getting through racism. I'm half Black and Brazilian on my dad's side. I may not look like it. All of us are going to be brown someday anyway. So, but growing up in Central Oregon, where I grew up, it was hard to get through navigating some situations where there was racism involved. And I kind of just turned a blind eye to a lot of it with the kids I was growing up with. And then I got in a few fights, people were throwing out the N-word here and there, but like, it must have been so challenging for Martin Luther and Rosa Parks and Malcolm X, to forefront that battle between, whites and Blacks. And it took bravery. A lot of people were not so successful, and a lot of people died in that situation. And so, just hearing how they, like Jackie Robinson, in sports. I was in baseball for 13 years. And some of these black baseball players, they were dealing with racism, but they fought through it. And so just to hear some of the stories that I have already heard, just to sit with them at dinner and gather some of that strength that they had, and to get through it and just keep pushing and not see, the racism that was thrown at them for like a bad thing, more of like an adverse just thing to get through, and how to navigate that. That would be awesome to me to gather that strength. Obviously, another one would be Jesus. I mean, to sit down at the table with Jesus, he's a historical figure. So, I mean, to sit down and hear, his plan would be amazing.
Nah, it truly would. No. The fact that you speak with someone that break barriers and that prevail over adversity, I'm sure you could learn a thing or two. And Jesus, yeah, he speaks in, I think, parables. So like, he doesn't speak to you directly; he speaks to you indirectly. That makes you feel like internal tension. So I totally get that. That would be like super cool. That would be the cool experience. Yeah. And then, you don't have to answer this, Jayson, but how do you handle criticism or negative feedback about your work if it's ever occurred?
Yeah, I get negative feedback here and there, and it's from just picky people. They want, they want to feel a certain way, and I understand that, because I'm a very picky person too, and I speak up when I don't get what I want. And so, sometimes people will say things that to me that are in their minds accurate, and in my mind, I know the game. So, it's in negotiation. Like, I know what I'm doing in negotiations. And they want to negotiate, but you don't have the experience I have. So, it's not necessarily like when they're putting me down, like, well, you should do this, and that. And I'm like, well, it kind of worked out in our favor, in the end. And I'll kind of like chip back, not to lose the client or anything, because I don't like to be argumentative. But I take it with a grain of salt, because, we're all ignorant in our own minds, we're all ignorant at our own times, and so it's just, we're all kind of learning to how to act around each other. And And if somebody wants to give me negative feedback, I do take it, and I try to evaluate it and make sure that, you know, I'm getting better, you know, and at communicating. And like I said, transparency is huge. Making sure the client knows everything that they need to know, and you're disclosing that, you know. So yeah, I don't take it negatively, and I don't get upset.
No, of course. Yeah, and yeah. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know the law of numbers, Jason, but they say 25% of the people are gonna love you no matter what you say or do. 25% of people aren't gonna like you for some reason, even if you're perfect. It's the other 50% that you get a chance to like persuade and influence. So yeah, no one's perfect, and thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable with me.
Yeah.
What's the next big thing we should expect in real estate, and how are you contributing to it? Like, can we talk about what just occurred this month? Like, how are you bracing your team with the like seeing this as an opportunity and not as a holdback, with having to be basically having to make a stranger sign a buyer agreement, basically, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we've already learned how to navigate through that. I'm with Keller Williams. We talk about this every day. You know, we have a meeting every week with the national team on how to navigate this. And I've got a lot of people in the upper ranks that are helping us navigate that. But I just think it comes from a personal, you know, perspective. What would I want to experience if I was under the pressure to sign with somebody that I didn't know? You know, and so there's ways around this that we're going to find that the whole lawsuit was unfortunate, but it just makes us stronger negotiators. And so we're going to take this and we'll probably forget about it a year from now. Like, it's not even going to be thing. We'll just be negotiating better. Like I today have to send off an addendum or whatever the form is to basically ask for my side of the commission, you know? So with my team, I'm just giving them all of the experience that I have from before and applying it to now where we're at in the industry, and how to basically have those communications with your buyers and sellers smoothly. So you're not getting caught up with the ums and the ahs. Like, I don't know, let me find out about that. You know, I'm prepping them before they get into this conversation so they look like professionals still, you know, because everything is a negotiation. It always has been. The seller has always paid the commissions anyways. So, you know, now we're just having to put it into a document that basically spells it out. It's not any different. It's just an extra piece of paper. You know, a lot of my sellers and buyers are confused. So I don't have to pay a buyer's agent? Well, I mean, you do, because you want your house to be seen correctly. You don't want sellers, you know, you don't want the house that you're trying to sell basically to not get seen by all the agents, right?
Yeah, you want the full spectrum of buyers, not just a small pool.
Yeah, because if you're not offering, then I'm going to be like, okay, well, you know, I'm going to kind of shy away from it if I can, right?
Yeah, because there might be unnecessary headaches for you, right? If they're being that way, if they're being that picky.
And if I'm working for free, I don't work as hard, right?
Yeah, you're completely right.
Or if I'm working for 1%, I'm not working as hard, you know? So in the other side of the agency, whoever you're working with is going to feel the same way. And it's going to become really cut and dried on how we do this, but we're still navigating. But, you know, what I try to do is, like I said, I just help people communicate. I help my people communicate through these conversations that we're now having, and having them smoothly, you know, like we are now. We're talking about it. It's not this big scary thing. What I wanted to get to also was, you know, and I'm giving away an industry secret here, but if you have a buyer that is not comfortable with you yet, but wants to see houses, meet them at the coffee shop in the driveway of the house and say, hey, let's sign a short-term, you know, agreement here. Like, let's go look at this house. If you like me, we're going to sign a longer agreement, right? But for right now, let's sign this now, go in, you know, we'll sign it for 24 hours. We'll look at 3 houses. If you love me, you're probably going to call me again because I'm a great agent, right? And I'm clear and concise on my communication. I used to build houses. I know a lot about construction and what to look for pre-inspection, you know, so I'm going to say, hey, this has this issue. I can tell, right? So I'm going to give them the most value in that 24 hours that they've ever had. And they're not going to need to go look for another agent.
No, I'm sure you go above and beyond in giving, like, above and beyond your customer satisfaction, your user experience. I totally get it. I can see it. I can feel it. If you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be and why?
Let's see. I like the industry the way it is a lot. I'm very successful at what I do. I
Mm-hmm.
think that there should be, I would love to have people lower on the totem pole, I guess, that were able to do more things. So growing up, better agents, because a lot of agents, they get into the game and they're not ready, and then they end up not being in the game. Like they're not in the industry anymore because they didn't have the right mentorship. They didn't get the right education. I would change that. I would say, because when you go take the test, you don't learn how to sell houses. You know what I mean? They don't tell you how to be a successful agent. You're just learning the verbiage basically, and that doesn't help you. So to have people lower in the totem pole, growing up agents, to have them be able to do tasks for you under your umbrella, that would grow them up. Oh, I do want to be an agent, and I do already know this. You know what I mean? Because when I was a hairstylist, I started doing hair 10 years before I got licensed. So my son's mom went to hair school. She taught me how to do hair in our bathroom. I started doing highlights and actually one day she was cutting my own hair, and my grandpa was a barber, so I knew what she was maybe misstepping on, and I was like, I think you do it like this. Anyway, she threw the clippers at me and I started doing my own hair. And I still cut my own hair to this day. Then I started doing men's cuts. I learned blonding, and I'd been doing it for 10 years before I went to get licensed. I was actually in construction for 10 years. So I learned hair before I was even licensed. I've been licensed now for 20 years, but I was doing it for 10 years before I even got licensed. That same thing with real estate would be so amazing to have people already knowing what they're doing, whether they wanted to be an agent or not, who knows? They could be a transaction coordinator or an assistant or, a manager or whatever, right? But they know what they're doing. And then they love what they're doing because they chose it. And that makes a better agent. That makes a better service worker because you actually know what you're doing. You can give the service. A lot of people went to hair school and they hated it because they didn't know what they were doing after they got out of hair school, and they didn't do hair, right? The same thing applies to everything. If you don't love it, yeah, you can go try it out and get your license, but that doesn't mean you're going to love it.
No, you're totally right. You're totally right. Yeah, either we love what we do or we love who we work with. That's what makes us stay. And Laser, what he brings up is a great point. There should be a stepping stone for real estate because 80% of the people that jump in the first year drop out, and then 95% of people drop out within 5 years of being in the game. Yeah. So everything he's talking about is nothing but straight facts, absolutes, and gems.
It's expensive to be an agent. It's expensive. Like, it's not cheap. So you have to like it, but you also have to be able to afford it. And if you're not loving it and getting deals, why would you stay in that industry? You're going to go back to, waiting tables or whatever you're doing before.
Yeah, ain't that the truth, Jason? Ain't that the truth? What's the most courageous decision you've made recently, and how did it impact you?
Most courageous. How did it impact me? What have I been courageous at?
Or Keller Williams. What made you want to go to Keller Williams, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of support in the higher realms of Keller Williams. So having a team and having the support to run that team is very important. It's very difficult to run a team, especially in this market, right? So keeping agents on board, keeping agents motivated. Like, the most courageous thing I did was follow my dreams, because I've always wanted to have a team, and now I have one, and I'm getting more successful at it every month, right? And so are my agents. Because if you don't have support, if you don't have the big wheel turning and people are going to fly off the wheel and people are going to get back, on the wheel. But like, if you don't have a wheel, if you don't have everything that it takes to move the wheel, you're not going to have a team. And so my goal was obviously to be uber successful by giving this top tier service. And I want to teach other people how to do this. I'm also a commercial agent. So, there's a lot of commercial agents that don't even answer their phone. It's ridiculous. Like, you try to call a commercial agent, they don't answer, they don't email, they don't text you back. It's like they want to double in their deal, and that's what they're trying to do, obviously. But there's not a lot of ways to do that in residential, but in commercial, it's still kind of the Wild West. But I'm making it better by answering my phone and raising up other agents to answer their phones. And like, if somebody doesn't answer their phone, I get on them. You know, I'm like, I called you, I needed some information. You got to answer your phone. If someone's calling you back and you're at dinner, I'm sorry, you're a real estate agent. You chose this life. You have to answer your phone. And I've been in some brokerages where if I didn't answer my phone, I was turned off. My leads got turned off. So it was cutthroat back then. I don't do that to my agents now, but I should for a month or so. You know what I mean? If you don't answer your phone, I'm sorry, the leads are off.
Nice, Jason. I'm glad you're empathetic with your team. And I'm glad you have that support, Keller Williams, helping you, because he has the best mega team in the state of Oregon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not forget that. And then, what's the biggest misconception people have about real estate in today's world? Or yeah,
that real estate agents make too much money for what they do. You know, we do make really good money, but we do have to work hard for it. And the biggest misconception is that you don't need us. You do need a real estate agent to negotiate for you, not against you. I work really well with for sale by owners because I teach them that. I'm like, you're going to pay a buyer's agent. That's what you said in your little description there. You're going to pay a buyer's agent. Guess what? You're paying a buyer's agent to navigate and negotiate against you, because they're going to inspect your house and they're going to be working for their client, right? So paying a buyer's agent to negotiate against you is what you're doing. So you need a seller's agent to negotiate with that buyer's agent. And I'd love to see you do it yourself, because I do it all day, every day, and I still mess up. And there's mistakes, you know, here and there that I catch myself, or my transaction coordinator catches me, or, you know, somebody catches me to fix that mistake. If you don't catch that mistake, you could either get sued, or you're going to lose maybe tens of thousands of dollars in the deal. And then if you get sued, you could lose $100,000, you know, plus. So you do need us. You do need our documents. You do need our title companies. You do need our transaction coordinators. You do need our listing coordinators. You know, it's not an easy job. Like, I get paid the big bucks because it's a big, you know, transaction with a small percentage going to me. That just happens to be quite a bit of money, but I'm worth every penny.
1,000%, 1,000%. Your expertise helps generations build generational wealth. So what you're doing actually is benefiting society, instead of something like BlackRock buying property or a big bank. And what's the most misunderstood thing about you, though, Jason? What would you say about that?
I would say that people take my kindness for weakness, because sometimes I don't speak up because I'm an observer. I like to observe people's characteristics, and a lot of the time I'll make a decision based off of what they're doing, not what I need to tell them what they're doing. Like, if I get disrespected, you know, like, I'm not going to let it ruin my day. And I'm just going to know how to navigate with that person more successfully. So, ask me the question again, because I had a different thought that I wanted to throw in there.
What's the most misunderstood thing about you, your industry, your work?
Okay, so that as well, like, I feel like I am very aggressive sometimes. Like, I have to be a certain way to get my point across, and I have to be very forthright and you know, clear and cut, and just, I don't sugarcoat stuff. So if I tell you what it is, that's what it is. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but, you know, I've been called a bulldog, or, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, like, I go for what I want. And so sometimes that's misconceived as too aggressive, but in life, you have to be aggressive and go after what you want and tell people around you, you know, your feelings. If you don't tell people your feelings, they don't know, you know. And my feelings on professionalism and, you know, getting the deal across the board, or whatever it may be, you know, how you treated me, I'm going to be completely transparent.
No, I totally get it, man.
Some people don't like it.
Nah, I mean, you can't please everybody in this world, Jason. There's levels within levels, and you're at the highest level. So I really just say, like, as long as you keep doing you'll be fine, Jason. Like shoot, aim for the stars, you'll be in the moon. And yeah, but Jason, have you ever been driving or like on your phone or like watching TV? Like, maybe if I wasn't in real estate, I would be doing something else. Or what would you do if you weren't in real estate? What would be like another dream job you think or career?
Yeah, and my dream job was to be in sports. I either wanted to be a professional baseball player. I was a bodybuilder for a little while. Wanted to be a pro bodybuilder. And I love nutrition and fitness, so that's another one of my passions. You don't get paid as much as I do doing real estate, but I really love helping people be healthier. Live longer lives and eat better food and show their kids how to eat better food. And it's really frustrating, our food choices out there. So I think that if I could do something, I would own my own gym. I would have my own supplements, and I probably would be killing it because my concepts are amazing. I would have a salon in the gym where you look good, feel good. Let's have a laundromat over here. Let's have a clothing line. Like there would be so many things, supplements, and I would be on the gym floor every day. You'd see me working out with the people, and I would be basically telling people, hey, you want to get results, you got to eat this food, try this supplement. And don't get caught up in the supplements. You can't just supplement. You have to eat real food. So I would have a food company over here. I'd have food trucks out front. It would be a whole mecca of nutrition, of feeling good, looking good, all these businesses wrapped into one. And it'd help people's mental state. And because when you feel good, or when you look good, feel good, I mean, you're just a nicer person.
No, you're 1,000%. 1,000%. Nah, Jason, you're like a purebred entrepreneur. Like some people call this like their profession, their career. For you, brother, it's a lifestyle brand. Like everything you do, like everything you'll do is just a lifestyle brand. That's what I like about you. What's your favorite book, podcast, or article that's had a significant impact on your life or your work?
Yeah, so podcast, I'd have to say podcast, and it's just it's probably Joe Rogan. I mean, to be cliche, just because he interviews some of the most interesting people, and a lot of people are like, they think it's too far-fetched, but there's a lot of things in life that you think are far-fetched and they're not. So he's not afraid to interview these people, get the truth out there. He doesn't care. Like, it's just been, I would love to have, I tried to have my own podcast back in the day, but my engineer, he had different things going on in life, but I'm still in communication with him. We might pick it back up, or maybe you and I can do something where we do this on a regular basis. But, I love it when the truth gets out there and people are exposed to the truth, and then they have to consider it. Because if you never heard the truth, you're ignorant. But once you've heard the truth, that little bit of like twinkle in your eye starts to become a big, it's just food for your brain that, can grow things and have people be less ignorant. That's what we need, is a world of less ignorant people, and I'm not saying stupid people, because we have a lot of those, but that a lot of us were raised without information.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be nice if we had, more information, more accurate information, I guess.
No. The fact that you truly have a giver's gain mentality. The fact that you actually want a better society, I applaud you, I commend you. So yeah, everything that you're saying is spot on. Like, I like what you're saying. How do you think the industry will evolve in like the next 5 to 10 years? Do you think people will be buying with blockchain, or do you think what we're at is how it'll stay the same in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be buying with crypto on the blockchain. So there's a lot of actually transactions already going on the blockchain. I was a part of a development going on in the Bahamas with my friend, and they're using what's called the sand dollar to have people purchase. It's basically like a timeshare situation where you purchase, a property, and you have like a certain amount of time in that property before it's actually yours, but you're purchasing it with the sand dollar, and that's on the blockchain. So it's more secure. You can track it. Obviously it can still be stolen, but it's getting harder and harder to do that. Again, education, people need to know how to navigate these new financial pathways with cryptocurrency. And I've been dabbling in cryptocurrency for the last 7 years, and I've got a lot of different coins that I watch, and all of it's down right now. So let's not talk about it. But it's definitely something that it's a feather in your cap that you need to have, because when it switches over, and when the government switches over to this one world currency that we've been hearing about, hypothetically, right? Is it real or is it not? One day when it actually happens, you're going to wish you knew about it and been less ignorant. So, it's definitely going to be there in 10 years. So,
well, thank you for that insight. You learn something new every day, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and I'm sure once the government gives us a stamp to their digital coin or whatnot, that's going to be like the new currency.
Yeah.
What are your personal goals though, Jayson, for the next 5 to 10 years? How big do you want to build the team? And just can you walk us through what your goals are for the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I definitely want to grow the team to as many agents as I can successfully keep a hand on and grow correctly. I don't want to get so big to where people are falling through the cracks and they're not keeping up the Mitchell Group name, and how that comes across to the consumer, because the last thing I want to see is reviews about me and they're negative, right? They're going to be out there. People aren't going to love me. Not everyone's going to love me or my team or all my agents. People are going to blow it. But, to be able to have a team the size where I'm successful, I'm building up successful people, we're creating generational wealth. In 10 years, I'd love to be spending more time with my daughters and making sure that they're taken care of. They're growing their own businesses. And I'd love to just have a huge property where my whole family can go to, and we're all, just having fun riding ATVs and doing whatever we want to do. A huge garden. I'm a pretty simple dude. Like, I just want to work out, eat good food, and sit around the fireplace or sit around the bonfire talking about, the good times.
No, of course. Now you're not. It sounds like you're gonna live a delicious lifestyle. I hope you manifest, and I'm sure you will. Anything you put your mind to, you give it a 120%. So you're good. It's gonna happen eventually. But let's just say hypothetically, someone comes to you today, and what's your advice to them for them to start seeing a couple of deals happen within 3 months, or even by the end of the year in 2025, they just take off?
Yeah. Have your business card with you everywhere. Like, business cards are kind of rudimentary. And a lot of people think that they're obsolete because you have this digital card now. But like, I have so much stuff on my phone that like I'm doing, like, people get busy. They're like scrolling through Facebook and like, doing all this stuff that doesn't make them money. Like, you need to have social media, whether you like it or not. You need to be posting about real estate and how much you love it. And you need to have a business card everywhere you go. I just got a facial an hour ago, and the gal asked me for my business card, and I didn't have it on me because I was in a robe. But I was like, yeah, I'll bring one in, or just go to my Instagram and look me up and message me there. You need to have these channels to where people can get a hold of you, and you need to be bringing up real estate. You need to be talking about it to everybody, at the bank, at the grocery store, the person standing on the corner. Like, I hear little conversations everywhere I go about real estate. I was at it wasn't a car show, it was an RV show, and I was walking by this group of guys, and I heard real estate, like buying a house or something. And I kept walking. I turned around, and I came back, and I handed them my card because I had it on me. And these were like younger guys that are like in their 20s. And I was like, hey, I heard you're talking about buying a piece of real estate. If that agent that you're talking about doesn't work for you, here's my card. And everybody's like, whoa, like all these guys are like, what the heck, dude? How did you even hear us talking about real estate? And then you had your card. That's so G, they're like really impressed. And it's like, those little simple things go a long way. But, and they never call me, but like, I was ready. I was listening, be aware and be into what you're doing 110%, no matter what it is. Love it. Like, if you don't love it, get into something else. You're not gonna be successful if you don't love it.
No, thousands. Yeah, you got to give it 120% if you want to be successful in life. And
I love real estate because, like you said, we're creating generational wealth. And I'm helping people make one of the biggest transactions they'll ever make. And you live in your house every day. It's part of who you are. Like if your house is not what you want, you don't wake up happy. You know what I mean? So it goes back to this mental state that we all need to fix. Like if you wake up in an apartment, and your neighbors are banging on the door or banging on the wall all night, you didn't get good sleep. You know what I mean? So helping people get out of apartments into homes and have better lives for their children and themselves, and we're creating a better society. That's why I love it. And it was like with hair. When I did hair, I made people feel better about themselves. If you have a great haircut, you love it. I mean, you're happy.
No, you're totally right. You're totally right. And you're the type of person that you can reverse engineer somebody and know what inputs it takes to get the output that you want.
Yeah.
And I applaud you on that. And what's your advice for, or what do you think is the key to maintaining a work-life balance, and how do you apply it in your life?
Yeah. Work-life balance for me is I go to the gym, even when I don't want to. I try to cook more at home. I try to turn off my phone at a certain time. I try not to pick up my phone, in the morning until I've had my breakfast or I've talked to my kids and drank my coffee. It's all about disconnecting these days from what makes us money from social media. Like I said, you have to have a social media. You have to answer your phone. You have to have a business card. Disconnecting from all of that is really important, because when I was growing up, we didn't have any of that, right? We didn't have phones. I didn't watch TV. We didn't have social media distracting us. We went out and we dug in the dirt. We rode our bikes. We wrecked. Like, dude, we were becoming people, right? We were interacting with people. I talk to some kids these days and they don't even know how to talk. Like, you ask them a question and they're like, ugh. I'm like, what? What did you just say? I didn't even hear a word you said. Like, can you repeat yourself? They're like, oh, what are you, old or something? It's like, no, I didn't hear what you said because you didn't say anything. You know what I mean? It's like work-life balance is all dependent on you putting down your work. If you are talking to people at work, that's great. If you're making friends, cool. But if they're messaging you outside of work hours and taking your time away from your family, you don't have to respond. You know what I mean? You need to disconnect from work.
No, you're totally right. And yeah, when it's time to unplug, it's time to unplug. But when it's time to plug in, you got to be a walking billboard almost, like to be successful, like you mentioned before. And little things will add up. What do you think is the most challenging aspect of being in your role in today's world? And how did you scale up a team like so fast? Like, I'm curious. Like, 7 years and you're number one in the whole state. Like, how did you scale up so fast?
Support.
You
have to have the people in the support roles. You have to have the managers, the transaction coordinators, because I can't be everywhere all at once. Like, I can only be me. I can do things like this to get my name out there. And that's very important. Like I said, create a post. Take the time to create a post. It's very important for people to see that you love doing real estate and that you're good at it. Okay. When you have a pending or an accepted offer or a closed, like, you may feel like it's repetitive or, like it's not really important. It is. People are on their phones scrolling like nonstop. You need to stay at the top of mind, for real estate if you want to be that successful agent. But it all comes down to support. If I didn't have my transaction coordinator beating me up for a document that she needs so my file can close, if I didn't have the listing coordinator, so she takes the time to do what she does so I don't have to do it, so I can go get more deals. A lot of people don't have a transaction coordinator. A lot of people don't have a listing coordinator. A lot of people don't have a person that holds them accountable to how many phone calls they made that week, and you have to make the phone calls. You have to get the touches. It doesn't have to be phone calls. It could be messages, it could be messages or texts or emails or whatever. But if you don't get a certain amount of contacts, it's a numbers game. You're not going to have that many transactions that you need to make the kind of money you want. If you want to make $200,000, you need to be making, 50 contacts a week. And those are legitimate contacts. Not I called and you didn't answer. It's you actually answered it and I had a conversation. Even if you told me to, kick rocks, like, that's a conversation, right? If you don't make 50 of those a week, That's minimum. You're not going to make 200 grand a year. And so scaling up from that is what I've done very quickly because I've had the right support and the right mentors to get here.
No, thank you for sharing that, Jayson. Thank you for sharing that. And you really must you really have like the blind faith of trusting somebody to be able to delegate and having faith that what they're actually going to execute on what you need them to execute on. And what's the biggest lesson you've learned in your career so far, would you say?
That you're not going to please everybody and you just need to keep moving. You know, like there's a lot of people you'll spin your wheels on and they'll waste your time. And so, you know, those time sucking people, yeah, you'll get a deal done eventually, but you could have got 3 deals done in the time that it took 1 deal because you spent too much time babysitting somebody with a bad attitude. So, you know, sometimes people are just sticks in the mud. You can't change that, right? You can try to, but that's a whole nother, you know, philosophy of what you should be in. You should be a psychologist maybe or a counselor, right? We're not counselors. We're not psychologists. Like when I sat behind the chair and gave people good advice, it was because I was doing their hair for an hour and they got me for free, right? You don't get me for free in real estate. If I'm negotiating for you, you're going to pay for it. If I'm just giving you free advice, and you're not buying anything, what am I doing to my business? I'm taking time away from people that would be. Right? If you're behind the chair, if I'm behind the chair, you're getting a service, you're going to pay right after I'm done. Like in real estate, it's not that way. You can have people suck your time forever and ever and ever and then never get a deal done. They want you to show them 10 houses on Saturday and they didn't write an offer on any of them. You know, so you have to ask them, are you going to write an offer on one of these eventually, or are we just out here playing Monopoly? You know, like be upfront with your people, because I see a lot of women in the game too that they want, you know, they're good looking women and they have guys that just want them to go around with them, right? And look at houses. It's like, dude, that guy's wasting your time. Like he probably wants a date more than anything. You know what I mean? So learn how to like judge your clients, whether they're being realistic or not. You know, read the room.
Yeah, no, and you have that talent. You truly have that talent, being able to read the room. Like, yeah. I can just tell by talking to you. So you got it in 2017. What was the turning point where your eyes open and you're like, this is me? Like you knew like this was like you were gonna conquer real estate.
Yeah. Well, I had the dream early on, and then I, you know, got discouraged because of bad years, you know, but like I don't really ever stop doing anything. Like I've done a lot of different things. Like obviously I don't wait tables anymore at a fine dining restaurant, but I'm still handyman around the house. I was in construction for 10 years. We're sitting in my salon right now. I still do hair. I was a bodybuilder for 10 years. I still have people that I train and help out with nutrition. You know, like I don't really stop doing what I've learned how to do. I just change hats, right? And the hat I wear mostly is my real estate hat because it pays the best and I'm getting very good at it. You know, I'm a good negotiator. I'm a good talker. I'm a good communicator. I'm a good, transparent, likable guy. So, you know, I think that it was always something that I knew I could be successful at, and it was going to take time. But with anything that you're successful at and really good at, it's going to take time. I mean, you hear that from everybody out there that's successful in their industry. Don't give up, you know, and stick with it and grind through. And it's like, if you're not making money, it sucks. You got to have a side hustle. You know, you have to have side hustles where you're making money, because there's going to be slow times. There's going to be bad markets, right? And I say, hey, get a side hustle. I've got 3 of them. You know what I mean? I sell a product somewhere around here. It's a water bottle handle, and I just started it. So it's a paracord water bottle handle that I'm developing right now. That can make me a millionaire even better than real estate someday, because it's a really cool product. And I'm doing it on the side. You know, I'm making a little bit of money doing that. I make a little bit of money doing hair. I make a little bit of money turoing my truck. I make a little bit of money, you know, doing fitness and selling supplements for, you know, companies and just promoting. And so all these things add up. And so when real estate's like, you know, here and it gets smaller, I have all these other things over here that are making up for it. So you gotta be grinding and hustling in different things.
Jeez, Jason, you're diversified, but you're still doing the marketing, and no matter what, and like anything that you do, you are something, man. But how do you the 24 hours a day? How do you optimize everything with everything? How do you juggle all that? You like calendar everything, or like do you have someone else calendar for you?
Everything I manage my own calendar. Yeah, it's all Google Calendar, and if I miss something, I make it up. I make it up to whoever I missed. My salon's at home, so it's really easy to be here. The gym, I help people at the gym, and fitness supplements are online, so that's easy. I make time. I manage my calendar very well, and it sucks to have to look down at my phone to see what's going on all the time and take that time away from my kids, because I'd love to just be there for my kids, but you got to create a legacy somehow. I had a client that he's worth probably 40 or 50 million. And this is the guy that sucked my time for 3 years. And then I finally got a deal done when I could have got deals done, but I felt like I was going to real estate college working for him because he's a big time developer. Right. Mm-hmm. So I learned a lot, but he told me one time, I was driving with him, and he's like, Jayson, it's funny because my daughter goes to school at Berkeley or wherever she was, and it was like super expensive, right? Mm-hmm. And his wife was begging him to retire, and his daughter was just graduating school, and they were like, I could see the conversations he was having with his wife and his daughter. They really wanted his time, and he wasn't available. He was still developing apartments and making a ton of money, and he's like, they can either have your money or they can have your time, right? Like, they didn't want my time back when I was making money because I was paying for everything. Now they want my time, but I didn't make all this money by, giving them my time. So it's like that work-life balance is really hard sometimes, but he provided a life for his daughter that was unmatched. Like, to send her to a 4-year university and pay for everything, car, rent, housing, food, everything. His wife is up in a condo on the riverfront, paid for everything. Like, you don't do that by sitting on your ass hanging out with them every day. You have to go to work. And he was already an engineer, and then he chose to be a real estate investor and builder and developer. Eventually you have to do what you do to make the money. Unfortunately, people are gonna not always have your time, and so you've got to figure out when to do that. But I could tell he regretted not spending more time. And what's he going to do with all this money when he passes away? I mean, it's just going to go to his wife and his daughter, right? And they're going to really appreciate it then, because now they have his entire fortune. So that's where the balance comes in. You need to make enough money to be successful and be happy and comfortable, but not, you don't need, cajillions of dollars, right? Like, you just need to be comfortable and spend time with your kids so you can say you did, and not only to say you did, but just to feel good about it,
No, 1000%, Jayson, 1000%. I got told the other day that you spend 90% of your time with your kids all the way up to they're 18. After they're 18, they somehow branch off and think they're adults, and you probably never see them off that often like you did when they were a kid. Yeah. You bring up a great point. The little things do add up. Is there any other piece of advice you wish you had received earlier in your career?
Well, I made some financial decisions that weren't the best, and I've had to start over, so it would have been nice to have schools and high schools actually teach how to manage money. They taught you how to write a check. We don't have checks anymore. They said you'll never have a calculator in your pocket. We do. You know what I mean? So a lot of this advice that we were given and not given, it would have been nice to be able to manage money better. And like I'm saying, crypto is coming up. So there should be classes for the average, American to figure out how to buy and sell crypto on these main sites, Coinbase. You can do it on Robinhood, which is a whole different story. Maybe not a great place to do it because you don't actually own the coin. You don't have a wallet. You need to have your own wallet. Financial education needs to be taught. There should be an institution we can go to take classes as a normal, just day-to-day citizen, I guess, not other than college, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the biggest thing holding us back is being smart with our money. You know, we're all living paycheck to paycheck because we don't know how to invest our money correctly, or we're scared to. And then they tell us to buy gold. What am I going to do with a gold bar? You know what I mean? Am I going to hand it to the guy at freaking Chick-fil-A and be like, can you break off some of this? Or you have a gold coin? Like, you know what I mean? Like buying gold seems like legit, but what am I going to do with that gold later on in life? Like, am I going to melt it down and turn it into coins myself?
Yeah, you're totally right.
Is there a space where I can take a gold bar and melt it into coins, or you know what I mean? It doesn't really compute to me.
No, I totally get it, Jason. I totally get it. Now I gotta back to that old man was telling you. I had to tell you that like I one time like an old man looked me dead in the eye and he was like, "Yo, billions not much when you're talking trillions." And it took me like 6 to 7 years later to realize like 1% of a trillion is actually 10 billion. So like if you're talking anything under 10 billion, happiness is actually more important in life.
Yeah.
And Jason, before I let you go, I'm gonna rewatch this when I'm 80 years old. Like, what's something you want to leave with me that's gonna make me smile or make me be like, man, that guy Jason. Thank you for that life advice.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you bringing me on. I love your energy. Like your energy is unmatched. Like you are going to be successful just like I am, and it's all due to your attitude and energy. Like the energy you put into other people is gold. Like, you know, the energy you put into this conversation and the questions already prepared and everything. Like, dude, high five to you. You know what I mean? Like I love your energy. So don't ever stop being you. And I want to do this again and again and again and again. And let's like get this out to the world, man. I feel like you and I have the best energy in the room. So let's play off of that. We got the format here. Let's educate people.
Nah, dude, Jason, that would be an honor to have you again on the show. Like, yeah. Like 1000%. And thank you for that. It truly means a lot, man. Ladies and gentlemen, like you literally heard from the biggest king in the state of Oregon. Like this guy, and he's only been in the game 7 years. Like the fact that he took market share from everybody is literally mind-boggling to me. But Jason, true honor and pleasure. Can you stay on the call for 1 or 2 minutes, please?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, catch Jason. Reach out to. How do you like to be reached out to? Phone, text, email, social media?
Text is great. Yeah. Email is just as good. So text me at 971-727-9853 or email me at, actually an easier email is jmitch00@gmail, JAYMITCH00@gmail.com.
Look how transparent he is with you. He literally gives you his personal email. He really wants to become your friend and not just the client. Jason, thank you for your time. And we'll talk in a little bit.